This is not an excuse for any bad behavior, but when you deprive the man of sex, you're opening a door for the devil to come in heels. Right. And you haven't had sex in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, or whatever it may be.
But people are going.
And we already know a man can barely even go a whole week without having relations. We spent some time debating whether or not we should talk about this particular subject matter. Because, there's a lot of factors or reasons, I should say, why it took us so long to decide if we were going to talk about this. But the title of our subject today is The Importance of Sex Between Men and Women. And why do we do it? So I just can't believe that we're doing this video, that we are going to talk about this video. We are going to talk about this subject matter. See, I'm already tongue twisted and tongue tied already because this subject matter here.
Wow, he's so nervous. I'm just kidding.
We're going to talk about what sex means between a man and a woman. And I'm just going to honestly and openly, we're going to pretend like the cameras are off. And I'm going to ask the question to my beautiful wife, Latasha. What does sex mean to you? First of all, I'm going to ask you that. Feel free. You can ask me questions or whatever, but let's have a conversation about this, husband and wife. Again, like the cameras aren't on. Let's talk about it. What do you believe sex means? What does it mean to you?
Connection. That's what it means. It means connection because so here's the thing. Nowadays, we're so bombarded, that's the right word. We're so bombarded with different messages that, of course, are laced with sex or sexual content. And so you're basically, it's meant to push you in one direction when actually the direction that it's trying to push you in is just basically all about the physical.
Exactly.
But actually, it is way more than that when you allow yourself to open up. And that is, of course, the connection. So when I say connection, I'm not just about the physical connection. I'm talking about, spiritual connection. Your soul and whatnot. Spiritual
connection.
Right. So even though sometimes, sometimes women view it as a chore. I've read this.
Wow.
I've heard people talk about this.
They want a chore.
Yeah, I've heard women use that term. I don't personally feel like that, but I've definitely heard it, and to the point where I was looking at something where it's men were complaining. I don't want to say, complaining that they're basically living in situations where it's like a sexless marriage.
Sheesh.
So to me, that just really goes to...
Fellas, I cannot imagine a sexless marriage. I cannot. Listen, I cannot imagine a sexless marriage. That is like me just being paralyzed from head to toe. If we're going to keep it real, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, I know that, again, that has a lot to do with people not wanting to talk about this topic. Todd being tongue-tied in the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. But no, because honestly, it's the conversation is sex. But That's because I feel of how it is sensationalized
Right.
as opposed to what the real deal is, which is it's for a spiritual connection. It's also for health reasons too. People don't really understand that, but it's part of a healthy, functioning body. But it is about connection, first and foremost. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's, as a husband and wife, let's get a little deeper with this. Let's get deep with this. I'm going to ask you, and again, this really right here. I mean, so let me say this first. I didn't write anything out. I didn't sit there and like do all this research and things like that. This is straight from husband and wife. You're hearing it first. Our thoughts, feelings, emotions of it, perspective, whatever you want to call it. But my next question, and again, if you can jump in there and you can ask me questions, throw questions at me too. But when we are being intimate during the love-making process, what goes through your mind?
Oh my gosh, you told
Now,
me.
I know I'm putting her on the spot. Because like I told you guys, this wasn't pre-planned as far as the questions and things like that. So, but yeah, I want to know, and I'm quite sure you guys want to know.
Well, actually, what I make sure to do is actually to get out of my head and just like get into like
I'm getting nervous.
and just get into the into the feeling aspect of it, because again, the reason why is because women, when we're in our head, then we start it can make us feel subconscious, or self-conscious, rather, not self-conscious, and just overthink, like, oh, am I, does this look right, that look, whatever, ladies, how we can be.
Yeah.
So instead of doing that, I just really get out of my quote unquote head and just get into the space of feeling and just kind of being more like present in the moment, as opposed to just like thinking, honestly, like really thinking anything necessarily. It's just like more of a wanting to just basically even elevate out of my mind instead of that, and just feel and allow that connection to just really flow more, as opposed if I'm like overthinking something or whatever. Because I mean, it happens, especially as women. Men, you guys don't, you don't really, I don't think. Well, I don't know. So let me just ask.
Okay.
Okay, so when you guys,
Ask away.
when you are,
I have nothing to hide.
do you just?
I don't.
So when you are, we'll say, in the midst of this particular action, I'm just kidding. No, so when we're being intimate, what is going on in your mind? Are you like, how does that work as far as for you?
But you get close to the microphone too.
How does that work for you as far as that is concerned?
Well, so basically, during the moment, during the love-making process, is what you're asking.
Yeah. No, afterwards when you're done.
That's a good question. Okay. So, I mean, I should have been thinking about the answer before you even asked the question, because I, of course, knowing that that's what's coming, seeing I asked you the same question. But seriously, I think what I'm thinking about is that I am one with you.
Right.
During the process, I'm thinking that I'm one with this woman, that this is my wife for life.
Right.
You hear that, guys? In the process, I know that she is my wife for life. So that really elevates things to a whole new level, because sometimes we forget that. We forget that that person is our mate for life. In terms of other things that is going through my mind, is that sense of power, that sense of power, meaning that I'm giving you my power, and I probably really can't fully explain where I'm coming from on that, but the power of making you feel loved, even that much more desire, because I guess that's where we're probably getting into the feeling aspect of it now. So, but I want you to feel a certain type of way. So I feel power, or powerful, and I'm just like transferring the love that I have for you from me to you, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Right. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Does that make any sense, guys?
Of course it does, because obviously power, men. No, I'm just kidding.
Because I don't want it to come across as if I'm saying power in terms of a controlling manner or anything like that. Because some people, they see stuff like this and they just totally get it twisted.
Energy is a...
Yeah, I think that's probably...
Yeah.
Probably what I'm getting at, whatever.
Power is energy anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, yeah, I get it, because you're saying... you said basically, well, okay, now that's a great, like, obviously, because this is a transference of energy. When you are with, a person, when you're with each other, when we're with each other, that is a transference of energy between the two of us, and basically intertwines, like you said, because we are one. So we both feel what the other person is feeling. I believe. I mean, that's how I feel. I feel that we both feel what the other person is feeling. And for me, just basically this sense of, euphoria, and just like, again, just connection is just so important. And I feel that, again, it's just really overlooked. Overall, just thinking about outside of, just basically in this, atmosphere of water, whatever, I think that's like really what is missing. Because again, if people were honestly not just basically being primal, because of course, sex can be a primal act where you're just doing it or whatever. But if people were actually doing this and they were having connection, like if men and women realize, like, it's about that's about connecting deeply with someone, your spouse, on a spiritual level, in a soul level, and everything else, we would not have so many divorces. I don't think we have so many divorces. I don't believe that we would have so many arguments and stuff like that too. So anyway.
Well, and that's so true on a spiritual level. And again, kind of what you were saying in the beginning too, that is when I was actually gonna even talk about in the beginning, but you say, or we feel that sex is so overrated because people glamorize it, meaning, okay, we can just go around the world and just have sex with just any and everybody and like, get a high doing that. But it's a spiritual thing behind it. It's not like for us, obviously we're married. It's not a just, okay, in and out and done. On to the next. It's you. The movie What's Love Got to Do with It? And this marriage, love has a lot to do with it in terms of sex. Love has a lot to do with it because I love her with everything that I have with all my being. I love my wife. And so I'm gonna make sure that she feels that during the moment. It's important that your spouse feels your love, feels that you truly love that person. You know what I'm saying? It's important because you can feel the difference.
Yeah.
If it's just like a one night stand, if it's just a quick, in and out and done for the day or week or whatever, it's a big difference. Because when you're having a one night stand, and we don't condone that, obviously, but when you're having that, the only feeling that you're having is, oh, it felt good. Well, that was cool. That was fun, and on to the next. But when you are married and you're intimate with your spouse, that feeling lasts.
It should last because, again, as we already know, again, in marriage, like some people are married and they're just really not in love or into each other. And actually, I would say that technically, if we think about it, sex nowadays is underrated. Because if you think about it, they're not putting the actual full, gamut on it. They're just basically only focusing on. That's how that's how I interpret it. That's because they're just glamorizing it, but just like, oh, it's because you have heard people say, oh, it's nothing. It's just sex.
So that's what I think you're probably saying. So, okay, so I said overrated, you say underrated. So I think what we're talking about here is, when I say overrated, of course, obviously I'm talking about that, like I just said, they talk, have sex with everybody around the world, so to speak. I'm just obviously over-exaggerating. Inflated. Sex with this person. But what she's saying that sex is underrated is that it's not talked about in terms of, or it's not popularized in terms of the husband and wife having intimate sex, basically doing the right thing, being one and spiritually connected, spiritually combined, and being as one. Yeah,
just basically it's like not, again, it's just like whatever. It's just like on the flip side of the coin, like basically like Todd said, there's an overrated side, and then the other side of the coin is there's an underrated side, meaning because people, their ideal about sex is just basically, some people will say, is so low on a totem pole in a sense of, again, like that whole idea of, oh, it's just sex, it's nothing, it's meaningless, it's just something to do, but again, like Todd was saying, taking away the deep spiritual connection between man and wife that was intended for. It's like that's just stripped away. That's why I say underrated, because it's like they just that part is stripped away, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's for everybody, and oops, it's for everybody, and oh yeah, it's nothing. It's just whatever. It's just sex.
So why do we do it? Why? I know this is just probably a ridiculous question, but why do we do it? Why do we have sex? Why do men and women have sex?
Well, yeah, for multiple reasons, of course. Again, obviously, and I guess it depends on who you're talking about, but
is it like for emotional connection, just a physical connection?
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, obviously, it's spiritual, emotional, and physical connection. Like, it's all three of those, and again, like honestly, it is a healthy it's a function of health. Like people don't realize that, but it's actually a function of health. And also, obviously, we already know for procreation to have, the, kiddos and whatnot, populate this earth. And is such a beautiful act of love.
So we do it. So one of the main reasons why we do it, and it's really maybe not a particular order, but to create, to have children.
Yeah,
to have a child that's part of us, that can represent us, that's from our flesh and blood. That's a huge, reason right there. Whether you're trying to have children or you're not.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, whether you're trying to or not, like that's basically the result. That can be the result is basically you now have a mini me running around. So
right.
Yeah, but again, I just I feel like this is not discussed enough, especially for when it comes to women being taught the importance that it is for not only them but for their spouse. Basically the fulfillment on both ends when it comes to sex, because I hear it in my quote unquote line of work and just being a woman. I hear it, so often. I know we've all heard it. Oh, well, yeah. Oh, even on TV shows. Oh, yeah, well, you know what? You're not getting none tonight, or whatever and stuff like that.
So then the guy has to sleep on the sofa, on the couch, or on the floor, depends on what woman it is.
Yeah, so it's like that was made like as a joke on TV, but that's not a joke, and it actually happens in real life. And again, you're basically cutting off a connection.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, you're cutting off a connection, ladies, when you are withholding, when you're withholding sex from your spouse, you're cutting off a connection with him, an opportunity to connect with him because, you're quote unquote mad, or he didn't do this, or he didn't do that.
So that's basically what you call depriving a man of sex.
Exactly, and that is actually, you're not supposed to deprive your spouse of sex.
And it's dangerous. It is.
Yeah.
I'm glad she brought this up. Like, what she's saying is true. It's dangerous. Me being a man, and not just me being a man, but for a lot of us men, or maybe most of us men, it's dangerous. You have someone that you're married to, you're in love with her. You guys got into an argument about something or whatever the case may be, or maybe she just clowning and like no sex because you didn't bring home all the groceries. No sex because you lost your job. Right. No sex because you didn't give me flowers today, or whatever the case may be.
When actually, ladies, if you would actually give up the sex, I won't say give up, but give the sex to the man, then that would actually help him to find a job faster. Like, and I know that sounds counterintuitive because women are just like, oh, he don't have no jobs, dude. But the power that you have as a woman is so great that it should inspire and motivate your husband to do better.
But look at not to cut you off here, but look at the negative effect that it can have. And this is not an excuse for any bad behavior. But when you deprive the man of sex, you're opening a door for the devil to come in heels. Right. And you haven't had sex in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, or whatever it may be.
People are going.
And we already know a man can barely even go a whole week without having relations.
Right.
So if the man is kind of weak-minded, has, flesh is real weak, watch out. There's a strong possibility he may chase after that devil on heels.
Right. Yeah. And obviously, this is not a one-sided thing where it's just like, oh, it's just the women that's doing that, because there are sadly, let's talk about this. There are sadly women who are in marriages and they are basically not having sex with their spouse, meaning the spouse is not having sex with them. And also there are, which I was just like so shocked to find this out years ago, there are women out there right now, even up to this day, who are basically, they are having sex with their husbands, but they're not having an orgasm.
Uh-oh. This is getting deep. This is getting real deep. Okay, so when you're saying that it's women out here, and these married women, they're having sex maybe every week, every other day, whatever it may be, and the guy's having an orgasm, but the woman isn't.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I've heard of things like that. I want to know. Why? Like.
So sometimes it is a quote unquote medical reason. I say quote unquote because I feel like everything is mental. When it comes to it being a medical reason, I feel like you can definitely heal as far as that, and it's really in your head. My honest opinion, but we'll say that there are medical reasons sometimes, but other times it's just like, to be honest, women they don't know their bodies, and so
they don't know their bodies.
They don't know their body, and number one, number two, they are not communicating it to their husbands. In some cases, to where basically let's figure this out together, so that I can, quote unquote, have fun too.
I'm sorry, I have to interject. I'm very ignorant right now. I'm very ignorant. Okay, so when you're saying that women, or some women, they don't know their bodies, what do you mean? Elaborate for maybe the other ignorant fellas that's like me out there. And
right. So, I mean, I feel like have a sex education class, but
get your chalkboard out.
Yeah,
get your chalkboard out.
No one uses that anymore. So basically, some women are not being. Basically, the reason that they're not having the big O is because they're not being properly stimulated. So oftentimes women cannot just have an orgasm by just penetration. They also have to be stimulated in the other spot, we'll say, at the same time.
The other spot, okay.
Yeah. And,
if y'all don't know what spot that is,
then
you don't need to be watching, because obviously you're... What's up?
Obviously, you're pretty green. Just kidding. But so they have to be stimulated there as well. And they may be too embarrassed to talk about it and feel that it's not for them to, experience, or whatever the case. I even heard of this one lady, which I thought was just like, whoa. She was married for years and years, never had an orgasm, got a divorce. This part is a little gross, but, I mean, I'll just say... it is. So she had a threesome with a man and a lady, and it wasn't until that experience that she actually had an orgasm, because basically the woman knew what to do. It was gross. I know. It was pretty gross, pretty graphic. But to me, it was sad, because it was just like, again, as women, we are told so many different things, whereas guys is just like, hey, here's your pack of condoms, good job, or whatever.
Jeez.
And this lady was like well into her, I think she was well into her 40s. Okay, she was well into her 40s, and she hadn't had that orgasm experience until in her 40s. So women are, oftentimes we don't explore. I'm not trying to be graphic or nasty. I'm not saying she should go out and get no toys. I'm not talking about that. But you're just basically ignorant. Get a book, honestly. There are books out there that teach you about your anatomy. It's like women are ignorant about their own anatomy and don't understand, because some people have even told or have the school of thought, and this is crazy too, that, oh my God, when I heard this, I was just like, I can't. Some men say that if a woman is having an orgasm, she's turning into a man, because that's it's not natural for women to have an orgasm.
They say that if a woman is having an orgasm, she sounds like a man.
She's turning into a man. Because it's not natural.
I've never heard it. Wait, it's not natural for a woman to have an orgasm.
That's what these men said.
I have never. For one, these men, they must have been born on Mars or Jupiter or something.
And clearly
I have never ever heard that. And see, that's the thing. So you want to? Okay, so you bringing up orgasm? Okay, bring it up. And this is an educational video, so no, it's not. But you're bringing up orgasm. So when the wife has to orgasm, that's a sense for me that I've done my job.
Exactly.
I've done my job as a man. I didn't feel that as a man. I may have lost my job. I may have not been able to bring enough groceries in. I may have lost that money or blew all of our savings on nothing. But as long as she had that orgasm, my job is done. So done. I mean, wow, that's just some gee whiz.
But sadly, okay, I don't know if there's any of you watching, but sadly, there are men out here who do not feel like that. They're just like, oh, well, long as I get off, you handle yourself. And unfortunately, there are women that are like that too.
That's just crazy, because I mean, you have a big orgasm, and I'm really excited. Like after that, I'm ready to burn. I'm ready to light a candle.
You mean the fireworks? I was gonna say.
Yeah, I had to light a candle.
So hilarious.
Shoot.
So yeah. So this is like some serious stuff, because women, men, I mean, I just feel like it's sad.
But here's a huge reason. Mm-hmm. Of course, a different reason, but here's a huge reason why some women don't have an orgasm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's the man's fault. Because the man, come on, we're adults here.
It should be adults.
It's an adult video. And I know we're Christians, we're born again Christians. But listen, a huge reason is that when the man enters your body, to him it feels so good to where he has an orgasm really fast.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And does not get a woman a chance to have an orgasm.
Yeah, that's another huge reason. Right?
It's like he inserts himself in you, and he's like, oh, it just feels so good. It just feels so good. It just feels so... It just feels... I mean, seriously, and then the woman is like, what?
Oh, my gosh.
A minute and 42 seconds? I mean, hey, it's some... But then we call those guys rookies.
Yeah, I was about to say, I would hope.
Why is it kept? There's a lot of guys that's not even rookies. But anyway, that's...
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
But... I mean, is it true, ladies? Leave a comment in the comment section,
please,
if that's true.
Yeah, because I know it is. And again, it's just the fact of
They don't even make it. The guy don't even make it to the bedroom sometimes, and he's done. But go ahead, sorry.
And so, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But
sheesh.
So the bottom line is, this should be like this. The view of sex definitely needs to be shifted. Oh, because we haven't even talked about this, and I know we're not going to be talking like for 8 hours, but seriously, again, when you are having sex with your spouse, and actually when you are having sex with anybody, you're technically deepening a covenant with your spouse. That was the purpose. Because again, that's why the woman, when she's a virgin, that is why the woman, will just, you know what happens. I would hope that you grown. When a woman is a virgin and she first has relations, there's blood involved because blood covenant is meant to be blood covenant.
I hope y'all taking notes on this one. You got to say it one more time.
So
we got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah. So again, the reason that woman is a virgin, and when that seal is broken, there's blood because that is supposed to be blood covenant with her spouse. Okay, now I'm not judging anybody because we already know that doesn't happen nowadays a lot of times.
Right.
But that's basically what the purpose of that is. It was meant for a blood covenant that you are with this person. That's God's design. And the sad thing is that when you don't do that, you're now forming covenants with other people, and that's where soul ties come in. Exactly. Negative soul ties come in.
Exactly. So just the bottom line is, we just want to tell you guys how give our thoughts and views as far as, us too. Like, we want you guys to hear from a real married couple, have a fun conversation about it. So, but we do believe that sex is between and should be between a man and a woman in terms of a married man and a married woman. So I just want to, we're not here promoting sex outside of that.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's our beliefs. But
right.
So we appreciate you guys watching this video. If you can do us a favor, follow us on Twitter. We want to start really building this Twitter account up. We really haven't been doing much with it, but follow us on Twitter for the latest videos when we drop new videos. And that's it, and we are out of here.
Bye.